Good morning. Welcome to Talkline on the MetroNews Radio Network.
Do not attempt to change the station. You are surrounded.
We interrupt this program to bring you an emergency news bulletin. Repeat, this is an emergency bulletin. Keep your radio turned on.
Holy smoke.
From the studios of the West Virginia Radio Corporation and the MetroNews Radio Network, the voice of West Virginia, comes the most powerful radio show in West Virginia. This is MetroNews Talkline with Hoppy Kercheval.
Check set lineup link. Activated Telos telephone. Switch network control from Charleston to Morgantown.
Stand by. Q Hoppy. You're on.
Good morning. Welcome to Talkline on MetroNews in and around the great state of West Virginia. Hoppy Kercheval with you. J.R. Falls, our producer Patrick Reinhardt handling the video stream. You can watch us at wvmetronews.com. I know it's Christmas week. I know everything is starting to slow down, but not on my watch. Not here. We got a lot to do today, and I think you'll find it informative and hopefully entertaining. Coming up later this hour, did you see the story on the somewhat lighter side? See the story about that ride? They got stuck at SeaWorld. Those people way up high in that ride, whatever it's called. Well, Delegate Michael Moffitt of Putnam County was on there with his family, wife and 2 kids. He's going to join us here this morning. Hashtag FTDR. Senator Charlie Trump, Republican Morgan County, wants a $2 billion, B as in boy, $2 billion road bond issue in West Virginia. Can we afford it? How do you get that through? Talk to him about that. Also, some interesting information about WVU assistant football coaches. Alan Taylor reports on that, and that's just in hour number 1. That's just starting here in hour number 1. But we begin with our headliner this morning. Please welcome West Virginia 1st District Congressman, Republican David McKinley. Congressman, good morning. Merry Christmas. Hope all's well with you and your family.
And a good morning to you, and Merry Christmas back to you. That sounds like you've got a great show this morning. I'll be interested to hear more what unfolds.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now, let's start with your opposition to the spending bill that passed the House and the Senate last week, signed by the president. You opposed it. Why?
You typically only give me 10 minutes. We can't discuss all this in 10 minutes. But, Hoppy, you have to look at what our mission is over there. And I think the primary thing is about the jobs and the economy. And for us in West Virginia, this pressure back on gas and coal has been incredible, this pressure from the president.
Sure.
So we have to take every opportunity, whatever we have, to try to pass legislation that might help or improve the situation for our coal industry. And it's not just the coal miners, it's everyone associated with it, Hoppy. We've talked about this, the railroad workers, the truck drivers, the machinists, the timber industry, all of that is affected with it. Well, we look at opportunities, and typically because the Senate has that 60 vote threshold, we have it's hard for us to get bills passed from the House out of the Senate. So you look for what are called must-pass bills. And these were must-pass bills. The tax extender and the omnibus are must-pass bills. And we tried to attach it. We had 3.
You tried to attach. You're talking about the Miners Protection Act, right?
The pension bill. That's the one thing. It was to try to take care of our miners that beginning next year we're being told in Kentucky they're going to start losing their health care benefits. That's not right, Hoppy. We have a solution we've worked on for 3 years, and we had a commitment from people that they would try. Don't put it on another bill. We're not going to do it as a standalone. We will do it on the omnibus. Mm-hmm. And then the omnibus comes up, and they didn't put it on. Yeah,
we're talking about it again. So people know it's the Miners Protection Act, and this was legislation that was supposed to prop up health care benefits and pensions for miners who've been devastated by not only market conditions but the EPA regulations. And it was not included in the spending bill, and that's the root of your opposition, correct?
And then, Hoppy, you have to add to it, we had the coal ash legislation that we've passed now 7 times out of the House, but because of Barbara Boxer over on the Senate, they don't take it up. And that's very frustrating. So we've worked with the Senate leadership and the House. We've tried to put it into a must-pass bill that's it's attached to it, what is called in Washington a rider. We were told it would be taken care of. Then once again, the Senate rose up and through the president and prevented that from happening.
And so that's why that's the primary reason why you voted against it. Is that what you're saying?
All of this. Then they had a stream buffer rule. that for years we've passed it out of the House. It dies in the Senate. Here was a chance to get this thing passed. The stream buffer rule, if you talk to the operators, they're going to tell you that's going to be the death of the underground mining industry if that rule goes into place. Essentially, what it's saying, Hoppy, is that they're treating a rule that was written for surface mining. If you have a stream, a waterway, that you can't mine on a surface mine, you can't mine so close to a stream. But in this case, they're trying to apply it to underground. Think about that, Hoppy. They're trying to ban underground mining 1,000 feet beneath the river.
Oh, I know. I mean, believe me, the EPA is way off the reservation on this stuff. But let me ask you this. Congressman David McKinley is with this Republican.
You attach three things, the coal ash, the pension, health care benefits, stream buffer rule, and then you wrap that all up into a 2,000-plus page bill. Come on. The process is broken. And unfortunately, Paul Ryan got on board on this thing when late in the game, so he wasn't able to fix it. But we think we have a commitment from Harry Reid that next year he's not going to block legislation on these appropriations.
Let me get back, Congressman. Let me get back to the budget for a second. The spending bill that you voted against, that Senator Manchin voted against on the Senate side. Senator Capito, formerly a cohort of yours in the House and a fellow Republican, voted for. She said the following. She said, this bill includes many priorities that will benefit West Virginia and grow the economy. Those who took issue with specific parts of the legislation and voted against it failed to consider the overall positive impact this bill will have on American families, workers, and businesses. Those who took issue with specific parts. That would be you.
That's right. That's right. There are good things in it. Absolutely. Every time legislation, when you put something together like this, there's going to be good parts of it. But sometimes you just have to just draw the line and mean it. And that is that when you're continuing to devastate our coal industry, someone better be speaking up for it. And I'm willing to be that person. So, yes, I voted against it. I know there's some good things. They've got a lot of my language in there that I asked for. We got increased funding for health research with National Institute of Health, NIH. Those are all good things. But
it permanently extends the enhanced earned income tax credit, which a lot of Capito spoke in favor. Say, look, you got the earned income tax credit. It permanently extends that rather than temporary extension. It's going to help those families.
No, the families want jobs, Hoppy. They don't want tax credits. They want a job. And as long if we can start pushing back harder on this and letting the president know how serious we are about the coal industry and natural gas, look what's happening on that. We can't get permits in West Virginia and really around the country, but primarily I'm interested in West Virginia to be able to take our natural gas to market. Just think if we could do that, how many more jobs and opportunities we'd have for. I'm looking at immediate. This was a missed opportunity that we had to be able to pass something, these three bills that would have had a dramatic impact on the coal industry and natural gas in West Virginia.
Let me switch gears for a second. Congressman David McKinley's with us, and ask you a couple political questions. The political news coverage is being dominated by Donald Trump. Do you support or oppose Donald Trump in his bid to become the Republican nominee? Or have you taken a position yet? Will you take a position?
A position with it. My candidate, quite frankly, I was probably more attracted to Kasich because I thought Kasich understands he's as close as you're going to find to someone that has similar situations that we have in West Virginia with the dependence on the coal and natural gas industry. I thought he's been very, very strongly and outspoken about it, but his campaign hasn't caught on. So I'm looking for a candidate. Bottom line, when it comes to it, Hoppy, is I just want someone that will be able to defeat Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton has already said time and time again in the debates and in her public statements that she's going to continue the same environmental controls that Obama has promulgated.
Right.
And she'll veto any effort to roll them back. So she tells me that this essentially would be the third term of Barack Obama. And I don't think this country, and especially West Virginia, could afford that.
So do you think then so your priority is to defeat Hillary Clinton, which is understandable. Do you believe that Trump has the best opportunity to defeat Hillary Clinton, or do you think somebody else has a better opportunity?
I think there are other candidates. I haven't given up yet on Christie. That I think he has a chance. He's very outspoken. I think he has a good chance with it. Rubio could very well be attracted with it. No, so I haven't taken a position formally endorsing any one of them. I'm watching to see how this thing unfolds a little bit. I get yesterday Graham pulled out of South Carolina, so we got one less person now on the debate. We have time. All these polls information, that's not as important as when the people actually go in and vote.
Do you say, Congressman, you've been around politics a long time, and when you hear Donald Trump say some of the things he says almost on a daily basis, do you give him a right on, brother, tell the truth, so finally somebody is saying the things everybody's thinking, or do you roll your eyes? What is your reaction on a daily basis to the kinds of things Donald Trump says and does?
Probably a combination of all of that. Sometimes I disagree with him vehemently. On the other times, I think I'm glad someone's speaking out because it makes I'm more comfortable that other people are speaking what we know needs to be said, which some of us are trying to say. But I think he's rough the way he goes about saying it, but nevertheless, he's getting his message out. And now I'm not worried about the national polls. Look at the individual. How is he going to do in Iowa, in New Hampshire, and South Carolina? Because I think that's where this election is going to be.
How do you think he would do in West Virginia? You know West Virginia voters. How do you think he'd do here?
I think he'd do very well in West Virginia.
Congressman David McKinley, Republican, 1st District of West Virginia. Congressman, thank you for coming on. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Hope you have a safe and enjoyable holiday back in Wheeling, and it's always good to speak with you.
Good talking to you now. Take care.
Thank you very much. Congressman David McKinley. When we come back, Republican House of Delegates member Michael Moffitt, he and his family in a most unusual position yesterday. That story is coming up.
In this season of giving, consider donating your used vehicle to Good News Mountaineer Garage. You'll get the best tax deduction possible and the satisfaction of knowing your donation changed the life of someone in need. Good News Mountaineer Garage repairs donated vehicles and provides them to qualified West Virginia families, giving them access to employment, safe, affordable housing, health care, and other vital necessities, and putting them on the road to economic independence. Call 1-866-GIVE-CAR today for Good News Mountaineer Garage. 866-GIVE-CAR.
Look around your holiday table this year and think, how many faces are missing because they've had to leave home to find good jobs in more technology-driven, economically diverse states? The High Technology Foundation is working to keep young, educated West Virginians here at home by attracting high-tech companies to our state. The High Technology Foundation is helping build stronger West Virginia families by building a stronger West Virginia, because there's no place like home and family for the holidays. Learn more at wvhtf.org.
You're listening to Talkline on MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Gosh, cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest, because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank, member FDIC. Here's a little clip from WESH-TV in Orlando, Florida, from their news.
We got on about 12:05, got off about 3:15. A nice 3-hour ride on the Sky Tower.
Stuck hundreds of feet in the air for 3 hours at SeaWorld Monday. Michael Moffat was riding Sky Tower with his family when it malfunctioned. This is video he shot on Periscope while in the air with his wife, 8-year-old daughter, and 6-year-old son.
Okay, you get the drift. They were stuck on this ride, the Sky Tower at SeaWorld, and Michael Moffat, they interviewed, is Putnam County Delegate Michael Moffat, his wife and 2 children, ages 8 and 6, on there with him. Michael joins us on MetroNews Talkline. Michael, good morning. Glad you're momentarily famous in Orlando, maybe around the world, for being stuck on the ride and periscoping out. You know.
Yeah. Good morning, Hoppy. It was quite an experience.
Yeah, what happened? I mean, you're on the thing. It's a SeaWorld ride. It goes up 400 feet. You can look around SeaWorld. It comes back down. It gets halfway down and stops, right?
That's right. It just all of a sudden stopped, and they came on, so there was a mechanical failure. About 30 minutes later, they came on and said, well, there's an emergency brake locked up. And then we were there for about 3 hours before they finally got it all worked out.
3 hours. Now, I just looked at the image there, and you're inside. It's not like you're hanging out there. It's not like your legs are dangling, right?
Right, right.
All right, but what did you think? What did your wife think? What did your kids think?
Yeah, on our side of the ride, there's 10 people. On the other side of the ride, there's 10 people. It was a 2-story ride, and it's just a shuttle that carries you up the tower and back down. And we were sitting there like, okay, it'll get fixed real quick. I was thinking maybe there was a stairwell down the center of it. We could just walk down, and sure enough, there wasn't. They had to raise this tub up to the top to raise a EMT and a maintenance guy at the top. And we were just sitting there. We wanted to go to a 1 o'clock show. We wanted to do this. We wanted to do that. And we're sitting there and sitting there and sitting there. Just got a little frustrating.
Yeah, was it really 3 hours?
It was. We boarded about 12:05 and hit the ground at 3:15.
I can't help, but a man of a certain age has to ask this. Was there a bathroom in there?
There were no bathrooms in there. They did offer a camping potty. They said they have camping toilets available. And I guess you can go in the stairwell and use that. There was one little boy, didn't speak English, but his father took him around the corner. They were going to use a water bottle, and the staff member helped him out to go wherever was appropriate to do that.
Gee, so when you finally got down, what did the SeaWorld people say? Did they accommodate you in any way or hook you up with some meal tickets? What'd they do?
Yeah, there was a whole team of them down there. They sectioned us off over to the eating area, gave us drinks, water, and Powerade, and gave us meal passes and a pass to come back to visit the park again. They were very apologetic and tried to accommodate anybody who had any kind of special issues. Yeah,
Michael Moffat is with us. He and his wife, 2 young children, were stuck on Sky Tower. You probably saw the video on the news, and it was stuck about 200 feet in the air above SeaWorld for like 3 hours yesterday till they fixed the problem. Now, I understand that when they finally fixed it and started to go down, I mean, it didn't start out as a smooth ride down, did it?
No, they said they'd have to raise it up to go down, and I was thinking we'd have to go back to the top again, but they somehow lifted it and jerked it real quick twice, and finally freed the brakes somehow. So some of the people sitting next to me, I was looking at them, and they're grabbing their seats, and their eyes lit up big, and we just were sitting there and tried to do the best we could.
Yeah, how did other people respond? Were people scared? Were people anxious? Were people just bored? What was it?
For the most part, people were just bored, sitting there on their phone. The guy sitting next to me was amazed by the helicopters that we're watching. His co-worker saw them on the news, and everyone was relatively calm. The people on the other side, where the action wasn't happening, they were pretty much in the dark as to what was going on because they couldn't see the bucket and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's why I hit Twitter first, because I said, wait, what's going on here? We're not getting any updates. They told us that mechanical failures. They told us to be another hour or so for a maintenance tech. But they didn't give us any updates. They're sitting there talking about it. We could see them talking about it downstairs. And they gave us no updates. So I hit Twitter and said, hey, SeaWorld, what's going on?
Yeah, let's talk about that because Delegate Michael Moffat's with us from Putnam County. He and his family were visiting SeaWorld in Orlando, and they were among those stuck on that Sky Tower ride yesterday for 3 hours, about 200 feet up. The ride was halfway down when it got stuck. So you're a pretty savvy user of social media. I know that. And then you got on Twitter. You also started to use Periscope. So tell me about what social media you used and why and what happened then.
Yeah, I hopped on Twitter to talk to SeaWorld and give us updates. I hopped on the news channel just to say, hey, does this happen often? Because I had no idea if it was a regular occurrence or just a once-in-a-lifetime type thing or what. Apparently the ride was built in 1973. I had no idea till I was told about that later.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hopped on there, and then I said, well, I've never tried Periscope. Let me film this. I think people would find it interesting to see what was going on. And apparently I should have turned my phone sideways, according to our legislative photographer. He was giving me some hard times this morning about it. But I filmed the whole thing, and people from around the world were watching, from Mexico, the UK, and the Netherlands. I was surprised how many people jumped on that stream and were watching what was going on.
Yeah, that's kind of It's the Periscope provides the ability to provide live video stream, and you can create it, and then people with the app just can watch it from anywhere. So, that was a cool idea.
It just shows up in my Twitter feed, and people were tweeting, and you could see their comments, and I could speak to them and answer their questions as the comments were coming in. So it was a kind of neat platform. I never had used it before. The Putnam County Chamber of Commerce had done a few events on it, and that's how I knew about it. But that's it was kind of neat. So the news stations picked it up. I'm on Periscope, and I get a phone call from New York. Said, well, either a friend of mine saw it, so I answered the phone, and it turned out to be MSNBC, and they interviewed me while we were up in the tower. They called back actually right as the guys got to the top of the unit, and I was on the phone with them as we were coming down. So.
Did MSNBC, which leans to the left, do they know your political leanings, Michael?
Highly doubtful.
You know theirs. They don't know yours. I say that because you're one of the more conservative members of the House delegate. So what's the rest of the vacation? Still got the rest of the vacation ahead, or are you coming home?
No, we were stopping by here on the way down to visit my parents. My parents live down in Naples, Florida, so we're heading down there. We just a one-day trip to SeaWorld, and we're heading down to Naples today.
Hey, and the kids, when they run in to see the grandparents, they can say, guess what happened, right? They got
the grandparents started on the news, too. They started calling my wife and being like, hey, what's going on? You guys okay? And it was kind of entertaining.
It is indeed. Well, you got a good holiday story there. Michael Moffat, glad you and your wife and children, Lindsay and MJ, are all okay, and everybody else who was on that ride. Michael, good talking to you. Enjoy the rest of your time off. We'll see you at the Capitol.
Thanks, Hoppy. Merry Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas to you, Michael Moffat. And he got on there. It speaks to more than anything else. It speaks to technology. The fact that he gets on Twitter and starts sending out messages, but beyond that, using Periscope and literally broadcasting live from just using his phone from the Sky Tower, and then people all around the world using the app start watching. When we come back, Senator Charlie Trump says we need to hashtag FTDR, and we need to do it big, he says. How big? We'll find out. How we pay for it? Well, we might find out that as well. All that more is coming up here on Metro News Talkline. Stay with us. This is Talkline on Metro News. Metro News is the voice of West Virginia. 10:30, let's get a news update. Check in with the Metro News Radio Network. Find out what's happening statewide this hour, all across the great state of West Virginia.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Shauna Johnson. In the new year, work or job training will be required of the more than 47,000 West Virginians in 9 counties who are receiving food help through the Supplemental Nutrition Program, SNAP benefits, previously called food stamps. After 3 months, those who don't work or participate in training for at least 20 hours a week stand to lose those benefits in Jefferson, Marion, Morgan, Harrison, Berkeley, Monongalia, Putnam, Cabell, and Kanawha counties. An Ohio man is facing drug charges in Marion County after deputies with the Marion County Sheriff's Department say they found $65,000 worth of drugs at a home there Monday. Marion County Chief Deputy Ralph Wright on that bust.
Inside that safe, they recovered 1.5 pounds of crack cocaine and another handgun. There was some stolen property that we believe was also recovered.
Johnny D. Floyd Sr. from Cincinnati was arrested and charged with dealing crack. Child abuse is the charge against a Kanawha County father who's accused of shaking his 4-month-old son on Sunday, leading to brain bleeding and a broken collarbone. 24-year-old Joshua Stephen Albany of Cross Lanes was arrested and arraigned Monday.
Did you hurt him?
Yes.
How did you hurt him?
I shook him.
Do you know that he has brain bleeding right now?
Yes, I do.
Do you feel bad for what happened?
Yes, I do.
Albany is now being held in the South Central Regional Jail. You're listening to Metro News for 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Metro News Radio Networks, the voice of West Virginia, and the voice of successful businesses across the state. You might be interested to know that when you advertise on Metro News, your message is heard in all 55 counties on more than 60 radio stations, that our programming reaches more than 600,000 people each week, and that by associating with West Virginia Metro News, you're associating your business with some of the biggest names in the state, like Hoppy Kercheval, Tony Caridi, Chris Lawrence, Fred Persinger, and many more. But maybe you should just listen to what some of our advertisers have to say.
Metro News understands West Virginia, understands the businesses in West Virginia, understands the people.
And it's in every little nook and cranny and small town in West Virginia.
It's accomplishing what we set out to accomplish.
We're reaching a vast majority of West Virginians through the network.
They really do become a strategic partner.
It is the simplest and easiest way to reach the largest percentage of West Virginians.
Visit WVMetroNews.com to find out how to get your business on the most efficient and effective advertising entity in the state. Metro News, the voice of West Virginia.
As of now, the woman charged with killing a Raleigh County pastor is scheduled to go to trial in June. After a Monday appearance, Camille Brown returns to court this coming February, a date that will come nearly a year after Pastor Ron Browning's body was found outside of his home. In Marshall County, a design has been finalized for the planned new St. John Catholic Church in Benwood, a replacement for the original church that was destroyed in a March fire. Items recovered from that original church have been incorporated into the design. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Shauna Johnson.
Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank, member FDIC. Please welcome West Virginia State Senator, Republican from Morgan County, Chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Charlie Trump. Senator, good morning. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thanks for coming on.
Hoppy, good morning, and Merry Christmas to you and your listeners.
Thank you very much. So you want a $2 billion, B as in boy, B as in Berkeley, B as in big bond issue? Is that what I'm reading?
Well, I'm gonna propose it, Hoppy. I've had the drafting request in at Legislative Services, a resolution to amend the Constitution to permit that as a general obligation borrowing of the state.
Why?
Well, we have enormous road and infrastructure needs in the state that have not been fairly addressed for a long time. As your listeners know, the annual revenues to the Division of Highways are barely adequate, and some would say inadequate, to keep up with ongoing maintenance, much less significant construction and improvements.
How do you pay for it? Because you would have to pay, as my understanding is with a bond issue, you have to have a dedicated source of revenue, right? You have to have a debt, is that correct? To pay off the bonds?
Well, ultimately, yes.
Okay.
Here's the way it would work.
Okay.
Because the state constitution prohibits borrowing by the state without the blessing and approval of the citizens, what would have to happen is the legislature would have to pass a resolution to authorize the amendment, and it would be laid before the voters of the state at the general election in 2016. And if they approve it, then before any bonds could be issued, the legislature would have to identify and designate the revenue sources to pay the debt service on it.
And how much would the debt service be, Charlie?
Well, here's my rough calculations. Of course, a lot depends on interest rate, but at $2 billion, Hoppy, if you could borrow it for on a 25-year payback, 25-year term, at 3%, the debt service is about $115 million a year, principal and interest.
Charlie, that's a big number, especially at a time when the state budget is very, very tight. Where would that money come from to pay the annual debt service?
Well, the legislature would have to decide that, and ideally with input from the people if they approve it. We're hoping that during this next legislative session, we're going to have some findings of some savings. But I'm not naive enough to think that we're going to find $115 million a year lying around in the budget. So I'll be candid with you, Hoppy, and say it would require the identification and dedication of some revenue source. But we have to do it. We'll have the debate, and people in both parties will weigh in. The citizens of West Virginia will weigh in on what's the right and fair way to do it. But we have to do it.
Senator Charlie Trump is with us, a Republican from Morgan County and chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, putting together a plan for proposal for a $2 billion bond issue, the debt service annually about $115 million. One obvious source, Charlie, would be the increasing the cigarette tax from the current 55 cents to, say, $1.55. The dollar increase is what most people talk about. But as I've said to other people, that cigarette tax hasn't been passed. It's already been spent about 10 different ways. I mean, if you start to pass a cigarette tax, everybody's going to have their hand in there for pay raises, for the PEIA issues, for roads, for on and on.
Agreed. That's the situation with the entire budget generally, Hoppy. Of course, every dollar that the state government spends on anything has some person or group of persons who are advocates for that expenditure and think it's, the most important thing in the world. One of the things I think that frustrates people about government at the federal level, certainly, and at state levels too, is the seeming inability or unwillingness to prioritize and make expenditure cuts when necessary. The legislature is going to be given that opportunity this year, no question about it. From what we're being told, the budget numbers, the projections, the early projections for FY17 indicate that it's going to be tighter next year than it is this year.
Charlie, do you think... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Nope, you go ahead.
Well, do you think that, and obviously I don't think you'd be proposing that if you had not heard from your constituents' complaints about roads and hashtag FTDR, which I've been beating on for months, but do you think that where this gets tough is that you say to people, okay, we can fix the roads, you're going to have to pay for it, meaning a higher tax or fee. You could increase the DMV fees. You could increase the gas tax. You could do a number of things. In your discussion with constituents, do you think that a majority would be willing to pay higher taxes or fees somewhere along the line if all the money went to roads?
I think so, but the beauty of this proposal is that I don't have to guess. The citizens of West Virginia will tell us. They will give us their answer, assuming we can pass this resolution or something similar to it. It requires a 2/3 vote, as you know, of both houses of the legislature to propose a constitutional amendment. But ultimately, the citizens of West Virginia will decide this question, I think politicians go wrong all the time when they underestimate the citizenry. I think the people will make a deliberate and considered decision on this question. I think the timing's perfect, Hoppy, for a couple reasons. Number one, interest rates are still low. Right. We know the Federal Reserve raised the Open Market Committee raised the base rate slightly recently, but in terms of historic terms, interest rates are still very low. West Virginia has a good credit rating from the rating agencies, and we certainly need the infrastructure. Now we've got apparently $2 billion coming from the federal government.
Right.
So obviously that money can't be used on all of West Virginia's roads. There are roads that that aren't eligible for use of the federal money. So, but I think it's time for us to step up to the plate and match at the same level, a couple $2 billion, and really make that investment. Borrowing is horrible when you're doing it as the federal government does it to pay your ongoing operating expenses. But borrowing for capital improvements in the infrastructure of the state is sound policy. So we've got good low rates. If we use this money for projects largely that are not eligible for federal money, then that dovetails with something else we're going to work on this year. We're going to try hard this year to finally repeal completely the prevailing wage law. And so this money could go a lot farther. Any money we borrow for capital expenditures on roads or infrastructure and used separate apart from federal money, which has Davis-Bacon rates tied to it, could go a lot farther for the citizens of West Virginia.
Senator Charlie Trump, Republican from Morgan County, going to introduce a resolution in this legislative session. It begins in a couple weeks, a $2 billion bond issue. Charlie, always good to speak with you. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you and your family. We'll see you in a couple weeks under the Capitol Dome.
I look forward to it, Hoppy. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Hashtag FTDR. That's a big number. $2 billion, $115 million annually to pay off the debt. I mentioned to somebody this morning in Charleston, they shook their head and go, where are you going to get that kind of money? Well, that's what the legislative session is all about. When we come back, WVU removes the Holgerson clause from Gibby's contract. Tony Gibson, WVU defensive coordinator. What's it all about? Alan Taylor joins us next. Also coming up next, I think you'll be interested in, not that you're not interested in what we've talked about so far, but also interested in my 1106 guest's great West Virginia story, as we will be introduced to Clara Santucci. Clara Santucci from West Virginia, Olympic marathon hopeful. Got a great story. We'll learn that at 1106. But coming up next is AT.
We're in the spirit of giving at MVB Bank this year, and our gift to you includes awesome CD products at great rates, like our 58-month 2.12 annual percentage yield CD. You can start saving today with a minimum deposit of just $1,000. Hurry in now and avoid the holiday rush. This is a present that keeps on earning year after year. MVB Bank, your financial life made easy. Member FDIC. Visit us at mvbbanking.com.
Would you go to a dentist for joint replacement surgery?
No.
Would you go to the barbershop to get your prescription filled?
Goodness, no.
Would you ask your preacher for advice on how to fix your toilet?
Of course not.
Then why would you trust some guy down the street who gives you the cheapest bid to remodel, repair, or even build your home? You need a licensed professional contractor who knows what they're doing. It's your home. You have to live there. Why settle for anything less than the best?
Your dreams built by the best. Contact the Home Builders Association of West Virginia for a list of professionals in your area. Go to hbawv.org today. This message brought to you by our marketing partners, Lowe's of North Central West Virginia, Brick Street, 84 Lumber, Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh, ProBuild, SJ Neathawk, Valcon, Windcor, and West Virginia Housing Development Fund. Your dreams built by the best. The Home Builders Association of West Virginia. Go to hbawv.org today.
Come on, man, we're gonna be late. We need to leave.
Yeah, we need to hurry. Let's go.
Please slow down. You are entering a work zone.
Oh man, they're working on the road. We're not gonna make it.
You are approaching a work zone. Please slow down.
What is that?
It's just the GPS. Don't pay attention to it.
Slow down, slow down, slow down.
When you speed in a work zone, you are endangering your life and the lives of others. Slow down. It's the law.
Be a smart driver. Don't speed in work zones.
This safety message from the West Virginia Department of Transportation Division of Highways, saving one life at a time.
This is Talkline on Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank, member FDIC. You know, after the holidays, you might be ready for some quiet, restful vacation. Here's an idea. Relax and recharge at one of the many country mountain inns right here in the Mountain State. Spend a weekend on a working farm like the one at Cider Mill Farmhouse in Hedgesville and Barn Within in Wellsburg. Real relaxation. You'll find it here in wild, wonderful West Virginia. I was thinking, here's a guy I bet he was raised in suburbia. I don't know much about his childhood. I know his dad was a coach, but probably did not do any farm work. Probably has zero calluses on his hand. I don't have any calluses on my hands anymore either. AT, good morning. Alan Taylor, Metro News Sports.
How are you, buddy?
How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well.
Were you raised in classic suburbia? Tree-lined street?
Yeah, the street used to have trees, and then a couple hurricanes came through, and everybody cut them down because they were going through the roofs down there. But my granddad raised cattle, and I used to hang out with him during the summer.
All right.
And I might get into some urban gardening here pretty soon. Will that count?
Sure. I think there's an issue in Morgantown whether you can have chickens or not, but give it a try. I'm not sure. Okay, so you report West Virginia removes the Holgerson clause from Tony Gibson's contract, guarantees a deal for 2017. What do you mean?
Well, when Gibby had a pretty good first year last year as defensive coordinator, late November, they gave him basically a 3-year deal. They would pay him $650 this year, $750 next year, 2016, and $700,000 in 2017. The caveat with 2017 was you only get paid and your contract is only valid that year if the current head coach, Dana Holgerson, is still the head coach. It was actually a pretty savvy move by the athletic department to not be on the hook for another $700,000 if things didn't go well this season and the staff was let go. As you know, things went well enough. Dana Holgerson's coming back in 2016, and Tony Gibson's defense had another step up the improvement ladder. He was approached about some other defensive coordinator jobs around the country and even some smaller level head coaching jobs. And as leverage goes, he got that caveat removed regarding 2017. So now the university is basically guaranteed his $700,000 salary for 2017, regardless of what happens next year to the staff.
So if Holgerson and everybody gets blown out next year after the season, Gibby would be guaranteed the $700K for that year, right? Next year.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, for 2017. And that's not unusual. If you look at it right now, it's basically just giving a defensive coordinator a 2-year guaranteed contract, which is pretty standard fare. But at the time when Gibby signed it, he was coming off his first year as a defensive coordinator, and I think you have to play the fluke factor there. Is it just a thing, or is he going to keep this unit up there? This year they were even better with a lot of seniors, and again, basically, he was guaranteed 2 years last year. Now he's guaranteed 2 years forward from this year.
But
and
next,
it's well deserved.
But Alan Taylor's with us, Metro News Sports. But next year, that defense is. I mean, who's going to play? They've lost. They've lost like they're losing 6, 7, 8 seniors or whatever. I mean, primary players next year.
Yeah, they've actually got 9 or 10 guys who are in the rotation.
Right.
On the 2 deep who play a lot. So Gibby's going to earn his $750,000 in 2016. They are still out hitting the recruiting trail, trying to find some JUCO guys who can step in and play immediately. Just as an example. We're talking to KJ Dillon yesterday, a graduating senior who plays that spur hybrid linebacker safety, and we asked Gibby, is next year's spur even on the roster right now? And he kind of made his eyebrows kind of went up. He goes, "We're recruiting." So,
wow.
They don't even have the personnel in who are going to play next year. So as much improvement as they made the last 2 years, next year will truly be a test to see what kind of group he can put together.
What does, and I think of all the assistants on the West Virginia football roster, and Tony Gibson is a guy that people tend to know. He's a coordinator. He was with the previous regime with Rich Rodriguez. He's a West Virginia guy. What does he want to do? I mean, and every assistant I know of a certain age wants to be a head coach, so I would assume at some point he wants to be a head coach. But I mean, where's his head? Do you know?
Well, we heard, he was in the running for the Bowling Green job. I'm not sure that Georgia Southern stuff was ever valid. Now, the Georgia Southern people, they loved his work because they saw him put up a 0 on an offense that otherwise hummed along pretty well. But the report that had him linked to that Georgia Southern job had Georgia Southern considering 3 finalists, none of whom became the head coach. So I'm not sure how much validity there was to even an agent reaching out to that Georgia Southern job. But the fact that he didn't make a jump to another conference as a defensive coordinator shows a couple things. That he believes in the security that he's got here for at least a couple years, and that he doesn't want to leave for a lateral move.
Right.
So it'd have to be a really top-notch program, top 25 perennial type program as a defensive coordinator for him to even consider that.
If things don't work out with Dana, and next year will obviously be a pivotal year, and the speculation is that the renegotiation's underway on the buyout, and so we'll see what happens next year, which will be very, very critical for the future. And who knows? He may nail it. You don't know. But is Gibson the kind of guy who would, if Dana didn't make it, would be considered for the head coaching job, or would Gibson have to go out and be a head coach at a Bowling Green or Georgia Southern before you come back?
Well, Hogerson didn't have head coaching experience when he came over. Typically, at a Power 5 job, you'd like to see a guy at least play the CEO somewhere else. But Gibby does have some inherent advantages in that he is from here. He is a good recruiter. He's been here through a couple of different regimes and a couple of different capacities, and he's been in a couple of other big programs. One really big one at Michigan, and even though that didn't work out during their stint there, that's a lesson learned, I guess. I don't know where Shane's head is on this. I haven't spoken with him enough to know what he would do. And to be honest, if Shane Lyons and I knew each other for 20 years, I don't know what he would do given the climate of what happens next year. I wouldn't rule out Gibby simply because he hasn't been a head coach, but I would also think that West Virginia might feel like they can get a guy who has some actual wins and losses attributed to him as a head coach.
Alan Taylor, Metro News Sports. Read about it at wvmetronews.com. AT, good to speak with you. I'll talk to you. I may talk to you before the holiday. Not sure.
I hope so, my friend.
All right, take care.
You too, buddy.
All right, bye-bye. Alan Taylor, Metro News Sports. We'll be back.
West Virginia has balanced its budget on the back of the coal industry ever since we became a state 150 years ago. Historically, the coal industry and coal-fired electric utilities have accounted for over 60% of all business taxes, while high-energy wages contribute a disproportionate share of income taxes, and coal severance dollars sustain important programs in all counties. All told, the industry infuses over $26 billion to our state's economy. Coal alone has paid down nearly $1 billion of the state's workers' compensation debt. Consequently, all state businesses have experienced major reductions in workers' comp benefits. The coal industry has always supported our people and our economy, but it's under attack from the Obama administration and the EPA. It's fighting to survive. Coal taxes in West Virginia are higher than our surrounding states. We're losing coal markets to our neighbors. Let's get our mines and coal miners working again. Support a reduced tax rate for mining, paid for by West Virginia Coal Association.
'Tis the season to start saving. At MVB Bank, it's easy with our new 12-month CD. Start earning 1.15% annual percentage yield with a minimum deposit of just $1,000. To start your CD savings today, visit our jolly team at any MVB location or call us at 844-MVB-BANK. It's sure to keep you off the naughty list next year. MVB Bank, your financial life made easy. Member FDIC.
Look around your holiday table this year and think, how many faces are missing because they've had to leave home to find good jobs in more technology-driven, economically diverse states? The High Technology Foundation is working to keep young, educated West Virginians here at home by attracting high-tech companies to our state. The High Technology Foundation is helping build stronger West Virginia families by building a stronger West Virginia, because there's no place like home and family for the holidays. Learn more at wvhtf.org.
You're listening to Talkline on Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest, because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Talkline, email from Barry Hoppy, is Roots in the picture? Well, certainly not this year, because Hogerson's going to be back next year. After that, I was talking about this the other day with Brad Howe, but it would be such a polarizing hire. I mean, you know that if in fact all these things fell into place or something happened and Rich Rod came back, it would be very polarizing. I mean, there are a lot of people who will never forgive him for leaving to take that Michigan job. So I don't know. I'm not sure that's the kind of move a new AD wants to make. This is Talkline on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia. Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Talkline on the Metro News Radio Network in and around the great state of West Virginia. Hoppy Kercheval with you. And coming up this hour, well, later on, I'm going to talk with Attorney General Patrick Marcy. You know, we do have an issue in West Virginia with Social Security disability, and frankly, some people are getting Social Security disability that don't deserve it. Every time I say that, I hear from people say, well, but I do deserve it, and I'm having problems. I understand. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about others who are beating the system, and we've had a problem with that in West Virginia. Now the Attorney General is going to cooperate with the federal government to investigate that. We'll learn more about that this hour. Also coming up, Bishop Michael Bransfield of the Wheeling-Charleston Diocese. They're rebuilding. Remember the story about the church that burned in Benwood, burned to the ground, historic St. John's Church? They're going to rebuild that church. The design is out. We'll talk more about that. But first up, this hour, I want to talk with Clara Santucci. Clara Santucci is from Doddridge County. She's a graduate of WVU, and there's some people who know exactly who she is because they follow running, and everybody else is going, wait a minute, who is she? She's a West Virginian. She is on the verge of qualifying for the 2016 Olympics in the marathon. She's qualified to participate in the qualifications, which come up in February in Los Angeles. And so she's got a great story. She joins us in studio. Clara, good morning. Good to talk to you. How are you?
Good morning.
Did you get your run in this morning? That's the first thing we got to know.
I did. I always get my run in the morning.
Yeah, what time did you go out?
This was a little later. I went out about 9:30.
And you did 6 miles. People, well, that's no big deal. I can do 6 miles, but it's your afternoon run that's your big one, right?
Yeah, I'll go for 13 miles later on.
Mm-hmm. And do you just run around Morgantown or on the trail? What do you run?
Yeah, I run Morgantown streets and on the rail trail. I try to mix it up and get in some hills so that the hills always make you stronger. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I like the West Virginia hills around here. So
I want to talk about your background. I want to talk about qualification because you have qualified to participate in the qualification for the Olympic marathon, right?
Correct.
Okay. So when's the qualification?
The qualification is the Olympic Trials Marathon, February 13th in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So there they qualify about 200 women, run under 2:45, and you get to go to the trials. Mm-hmm. And from there, they take the top 3 women in that race to go to the Olympics.
And it's just one and done, right?
Yeah, one and done. So you really have to be ready on that day.
Now, your best time is
2:29:54 is my best time.
Okay, so just under 2:30. And
yes.
What do you think it's going to take to qualify?
I think American marathoning for women is really growing and developing, which is great. So I think I'm going to be in one of the strongest fields there's ever been in. And I think it's going to take about a 2:27.
Wow.
Actually. Yeah. We'll see. It could be hot. The conditions really play a factor in that. So on the day, I think there's going to be a lot of women ready to run that kind of time. So I'm going to be prepared as
what
well.
do you think your chances are? I mean, I know that you're optimistic. I know you're very driven. But realistically, what are your chances of qualifying for the Olympics?
Yeah, if you would talk to me or my coach, we'd say I'm probably in the back seat looking for a way in. Mm-hmm. But I think I've definitely got a chance. It's there. I'm looking for maybe some people to fall apart, and the marathon is such a grueling event that can happen easily, even in the last couple miles. So there's really there's hope all the way to the finish line. So my chances are there. They're not slim. I'm the underdog right now. So
Clara Santucci's with us, Doddridge County, from Doddridge County, West Virginia, and she will be in the Olympic qualifying race in February in Los Angeles. For the marathon, for the women's marathon in Olympics in Brazil?
Yeah, Brazil.
Okay, all right. And so do you think, how old are you?
I'm 28.
28. Mm-hmm. So with this, are you in your prime here, or could it be a couple years later that you could, because marathoners typically can go a little longer, right?
Yeah, women marathoners seem to peak in their early 30s. Mm-hmm. So I'm right about entering my prime now.
Okay, so this is not your only shot.
No, I tried out in 2012 and I did really well. I placed 7th against the best field there's ever been.
7th in the qualifying race.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I ended up being an alternate for the Olympic team, filling out all the Olympic papers, which was really exciting and got me believing a little bit more that I could do it the next time around. So here I am again, and there will be another chance after this. So
yeah. That's great. Now, you're from Doddridge, or you grew up in Doddridge County.
Yes.
And a lot is being made of growing up. You're kind of living out in the sticks like I grew up, out in the country in Doddridge County, right? Right. And you were homeschooled?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Homeschooled until 5th grade.
Until 5th grade?
Yeah.
Okay. And how did you start running?
I started competitive running in 7th grade in track. And really who got me thinking about it was my gym teacher. He was the cross-country coach, and he saw me running the mile around the gym for the presidential fitness test. And I took it really seriously, and I wanted to beat everyone. And I wasn't trained at all, but I ran one of the best times in the school, and it wasn't that fast, but he saw, something that could be developed. So he sat me down and said, you should try out for cross-country
What did you
and
think?
track. I liked it. I mean, I loved running. It's simple enough that it was something I could do in the country. I've had watched the Olympics from an early age and loved the inspiring stories and just the toughness and the grit of the athletes that competed. I always remember Carrie Strug, the gymnast that completed her routine on one ankle. Or
got
one
carried
foot
off by
her
by her
coach.
trainer. Yeah.
So
But I know
that
I know you've been
Mhm.
asked this 100 times, but everybody says the same thing. Oh, but she's just a sweet, nice person. She's soft spoken. She's smiling all the time. But then they say, but you're a pit bull.
Yeah. People say, I mean,
They
I've
don't
been
want to
called
cross
that.
you, right? I mean,
right. I mean,
what is it?
It's something inside of me that just has this desire to get the best out of myself. And I believe everyone has a talent, has something they're here for. So, and I always searched for that, and running became something where I could always find improvement in myself, and it's always made me a better person and brought me along.
Have you ever gotten close to giving up competitive running?
There's been a few hard times where,
What happened?
it's been tough. I've been injured,
Which is going to happen.
It's going to happen, and then I've been. My sponsors have changed, which is that's a hard time when you're in between sponsors and not really being supported, and you're thinking, how am I supposed to support myself
Right.
and make a living? And running, you can make a living off of running, but it's very.
It's not.
It's
you
not
did
very
not.
stable.
You did not arrive by a limousine today, right?
Right.
Clara Santucci's with us. She's a 2-time Pittsburgh Marathon champion. She's going to be at the Olympic trials in Los Angeles, and there is a great video about you and your training, which is at primlaw.com.
Right.
Primlaw.com tells your story, and also Primlaw, I believe, is contributing $2,500 to your training. Is that correct?
They're gonna match.
They're going to match whatever the contributions are. Yeah.
Uh,
So you can go to primlaw.com and find out how to contribute to support your ongoing training. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Plus, it's a really good video. What did you think when you saw the video?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I almost cried.
That's a great story about that young woman.
No, it's really neat to see it all put together, all the things I've done over the years and how it's developed. And you really just look at it day by day and don't really get to see it all put together like that. So I'm really thankful for the guys at Pikewood Creative that put it together.
Yeah, Pikewood did it. Dan Lohman and that crew. It's at primlaw.com. I think Tony tweeted out, Tony Creedy, who's involved now, tweeted out as well, primlaw.com to see that. And also you can see where you can make contributions to support her training for the qualification. So injuries are a big part. Have you been hurt lately?
Not lately, no. So that's good. I'm a pretty durable runner. So I've been running for since 7th grade. So I'm 28 now. So it's been a few years. But I've only had 2 major injuries, 2 at the same time. Yeah, I've had a couple of major injuries, and that's pretty good for an elite distance runner that's running around 120 miles a week. So
that's what you're doing now in training, about 120.
Yeah.
I understand you're not a speed demon.
No,
you're more of a grinder.
I don't have the natural speed. I'm the grinder. I'm like the train. Gets going and then keeps going.
You got to have that. Has to affect clearly your strategy, because if you're a grinder, then you can't expect to outkick, can you, at the end, or can you if you've worn them down? What's the strategy?
Right. Well, in a marathon, that's what I really like about it, and that's why it's such a good event for me. It's not really about being fast in the end. It's about being able to run at the end and people really fall apart at the end. And if you can at least maintain, it actually looks like you're kicking. So, so if you're actually just maintaining the pace you started out at, it looks like you're just dropping people left and right.
Yeah.
So
what do you have any mental exercises you go through as you are in the race? Because at different stages, your body is different things are happening. What are the mental exercises you use in a race?
Yeah, there's running has a huge mental aspect to it, especially in the marathon. When your body is breaking down, I start thinking about just like all the reasons why I'm out there, what I want it for, and how long it's going to hurt, and how short that pain can be compared to the reward at the end.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of self-talk and self-motivation you go through at the end, and just sometimes it's just, my legs haven't fallen out from underneath of me, so I'm okay. So keep going.
Last mile or two in a marathon, would you rather have the lead but be looking back at somebody gaining, or be behind that person trying to catch?
I don't know. I've had it both ways. Actually, Pittsburgh Marathon that I've run twice has happened both of those ways, and I think both were equally exciting. So really, I think more than anything, I would probably want to be catching, but more than anything, I would just want to feel like I had something more to give.
Left.
Yeah. So
do you know what your limit is?
I don't know what my limit is yet. No, I mean, I don't think I've truly hit the wall in a marathon.
Really?
I've fallen off pace, but I guess when they say you hit the wall, you go from running a 5-something mile to like a 7-something mile, and I've dropped off maybe 20 seconds. So I don't know if I want to find that wall. I want to calculate it perfectly so that I find that wall right at the finish line.
Yeah.
So.
Gosh. Well, are you enjoying all this, or do you feel the stress of it?
I enjoy it. I love it. This is what I've always wanted to do. It's really a dream.
But everybody's watching you now. I mean, we're putting more pressure on you now.
Right. But I appreciate the support, and it makes me want to do it for more than just myself, especially if I have more people out there cheering for me. And that's a motivator for me. So it's not pressure. It's something to do it for. It just gives it more reason and more purpose.
If people want to support, and by the way, will you train the entire time here, or can you get to an Olympic training location if you qualify?
If I qualify for the Olympics, I can go other places. I can go to the Olympic Training Center. I think there's two. There's one in Colorado and one in California. Or I could go somewhere else, like a huge running mecca, where there's like in Arizona. Flagstaff, Arizona is a huge one because it's at altitude.
Sure. Right.
And that's a benefit that I've never really cashed in on. So.
And right now you're just running like Grand Avenue and Charles Avenue, running the hills in Morgantown.
Yeah, so the hills are my altitude. The humidity in the summer, they say it's the poor man's altitude. So, we've got good tough conditions here that make a runner tougher, and that's always a good thing.
Check her out at primlaw.com, and that would be the videos there. There's also a link to GoFundMe.com, Clara26, is that right?
Right.
GoFundMe.com/Clara, C-L-A-R-A, Clara26. GoFundMe.com /Clara26. But go to primlaw.com. That'd be your best link. Clara Santucci, it's a pleasure to meet you. Heard about you. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
All right, we're going to follow you, and good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Talkline will continue right after this. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
It's here, the year-end blockbuster sales event at your Central West Virginia Jeep Giant. Northside Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram trucks in Somersville. Inventory is huge, and so are the savings. Come on in now for this deal. A 2016 Jeep Cherokee Latitude 4x4 cold weather group. Yep, you're going to need it. Satellite radio. Retail price $29,230. Blockbuster price $24,999. You save over $4,200. It's only the beginning. See us in person or online at northsidewv.com.
A charity that's close to hearts and close to home. Burlington United Methodist Family Services has been changing lives by preventing harm and providing hope and healing to hurting West Virginia children and families for over 100 years. When you make a charitable contribution to Burlington, you're not only reducing your own tax burden, but helping provide crucial services across our state. Learn more about Burlington and see how you can help today at bumfs.org. Burlington United Methodist Family Services.
This is Talkline on Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
there. Just 5 more minutes. Almost home.
Statistics show that 80% of auto fatalities occur close to home on rural roads.
Cops.
That's why law enforcement is stepping up rural patrols and cracking down on impaired driving. If you are over the limit, you are under arrest because drinking and driving don't mix. Remember, over the limit, under arrest. This message brought to you by the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank, member FDIC. The U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, a coalition of leading national and local Muslim organizations, has announced a major educational, outreach, and civic empowerment initiative to address what they say is growing Islamophobia in America and to enhance national security through the promotion of freedom and justice. Let's find out more about this from John Decker, Fox News Radio, following the story. John, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Tell us more about what the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations is doing.
Well, this was an event that was at the National Press Club yesterday, and the event was advertised as you advertised it just now to your listeners. But I can tell you that essentially what this plan boils down to is an effort by these groups that represent Muslim Americans to register 1 million new voters before the presidential election of next year. That's essentially what they're focused on. It's an admirable effort on their part. Obviously, anytime that you encourage people to exercise their civic duty, it's a laudable thing. But that's essentially what they made their announcement about yesterday at the National Press Club here in Washington.
So that sounds a tad different than what I read the intent was going to be, that there's nothing wrong with the voter registration drive, as you say. But at the same time, I thought it was more of an outreach, more of as let me explain to you what Islam is all about. Let us take a stand as Muslim organizations against radical Islam. So maybe I missed the point.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why so many news organizations attended this event yesterday at the National Press Club. The president, over the course of the past few weeks has asked Muslim American leaders to do more in their communities, to speak out against radical Islam, to ferret out those individuals in their communities and in their mosques who may be leaning towards radical Islam. And, that's what we're expecting yesterday at this event, and it did not occur. And it's something that the FBI has been trying to do for years, and that's to get American Muslim leaders to cooperate with law enforcement when they're investigating an individual or individuals that they suspect of being involved in radical Islam.
Yeah, I think, and John Decker's with us, Fox News Radio, that I would certainly speak out against and have against Islamophobia and lumping all Islam into one category. There's 1 billion Muslims in the world. There's all kinds of variations of Islam. But at the same time, so I would speak out against Islamophobia myself, but I would also call on Muslims to carry their weight to make sure they condemn acts of violence that trigger Islamophobia. So
yeah, and one of the things I think that put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths was in the wake of 9/11. One of the groups that was involved in yesterday's press conference, it's CARE, it's the Council on American Islamic Relations, and I've known this group and the people that lead this group for 20 years here in Washington, D.C. In the wake of 9/11, when asked to condemn the 9/11 attacks, they did so, but at the same time they said we must look to see the reasons behind these actions by Al-Qaeda. In other words, there's a reason behind killing 3,000 innocent people on September 11th, 2001. As opposed to what most people certainly that we would expect that they would do, and that is just simply to condemn the attacks in and of itself. And we've seen this time and time again with incidences involving terror attacks, not only here in the U.S., but around the world, in which CARE specifically says, let's look and see the motivations behind these terror suspects. Maybe that can help us ferret these people out in the future.
John Decker, Fox News Radio. Thank you, John. We appreciate the insights.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Right. And I have no issue, I have no problem with taking a deeper and more complex look at the causes of radical Islam. I think that is a part of your intellectual due diligence. At the same time, a certain amount of Islamophobia is expected. I'm not condoning it, but is expected when those who conduct the attacks identify themselves as Muslims. Now, the argument is, well, they are not practicing the Muslim religion as it. Okay, that's fine. But then every day, all day, denounce what they've done. Say it again, and say it one more time. I mean, you can't say it once. You have to repeat that message. I mean, I think that's really, really important. So, okay. Wasn't Clara Santucci delightful? I got to tell you, I don't know if you're watching the video, we'll probably post online. She can't stop smiling. She's got this wonderful smile. She can't stop smiling. And it certainly gives us somebody to cheer for in the upcoming Olympics and the Olympic trials that are coming up. Also, I would encourage you, Pikewood did a beautiful job on that video. Tells this wonderful story, and it's this West Virginia story. This young woman raised in rural West Virginia, Doddridge County. I said the sticks only because I grew up in the sticks. I don't say it in a pejorative way. And she is, right now, one of the best in her sport in America and trying for the Olympics. Wonderful story. Check it out at primlaw.com. Email from Ron. Hoppy, what a garbage non-conference schedule at the Coliseum this year. The fans in Morgantown have been robbed. I never thought Huggins would go so soft in a non-conference schedule. Email Hoppy, it's finally over for Trump. The comment about Hillary was finally enough to wake up the voters. I think it just, people who like Trump. Doesn't matter what he says. This is Talkline on MetroNews, the voice of West Virginia. It's 11:30. Let's get a news update. Check in with the Metro News Radio Network. Find out what's happening statewide this hour, all across the great state of West Virginia.
West Virginia Metro News, I'm Shauna Johnson. Opponents of a proposed merger between Cabell Huntington Hospital and St. Mary's Medical Center, both located in Huntington, are calling their own witnesses today during a hearing in front of the West Virginia Healthcare Authority. Those with Steel of West Virginia claim the merger will drive up healthcare costs by eliminating competition. But supporters deny that and say there are many other hospital options in Cabell Huntington's service area. In 9 West Virginia counties, job training classes or part-time work will again be required of recipients of Supplemental Nutrition Program or SNAP food benefits starting on January 1st. Those counties, Marion, Jefferson, Morgan, Harrison, Berkeley, Monongalia, Cabell, Kanawha, and Putnam. The Board of Governors at West Virginia State University in Kanawha County has set a path for finding a new president.
The board met in emergency session Monday, choosing a 17-member search committee made up of board members, students, faculty, staff, and community members. The charge is to find a replacement for current WVSU President Brian Hemphill. It was announced last week he'll be the next president at Radford University in Virginia.
That's Jeff Jenkins reporting today. The herd heads to Florida today. It's a trip south for Marshall University ahead of Saturday's St. Petersburg Bowl against Connecticut. Kickoff is set for 11 Saturday at Tropicana Field, a game that will be televised on ESPN. You are listening to Metro News for 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Being a great hunter requires a lot of skill and a commitment to safety. Hunting for a great truck, however, only requires tracking down your nearest Ram dealer. That's because Ram 1500 is the only truck with an available class-exclusive EcoDiesel engine that gets up to 29 miles per gallon highway and can haul 9,200 pounds. See your local Ram dealer today. Guts, glory, Ram. Class based on light-duty pickups. EPA estimated 29 mpg highway based on HFE EcoDiesel V6 4x2. Actual results may vary. Towing capacity when properly equipped.
When you're in the woods this fall, hopefully you'll get a chance to put the crosshairs or one of your archery pins on a nice animal. But before you pull that trigger or touch the release, double check and make certain of what you're shooting. Also know what is beyond that target. Is there a barn, a house, a highway in the background of your view of that deer? If so, don't take the shot. Even after passing through, the bullet can travel several miles and cause unintended harm. This hunting safety message is service of Ram trucks, made for those who stand apart.
A man is being treated at Weirton Medical Center a day after a more than 7-hour standoff with Weirton City Police. No officers were hurt there. A Kanawha County man is charged today with threatening to commit a terrorist act after allegedly telling a Workforce West Virginia worker he would blow up the office. That's a quote earlier this month. Capitol Police say the Tornado Man was denied an unemployment claim. And this first official day of winter is shaping up to be a mild one in much of the Mountain State. From the Metro News Anchor Desk, I'm Shauna Johnson.
Talkline on MetroNews. Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank member, FDIC. Coming up in about 12 minutes, West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. The West Virginia AG is partnering with Social Security and in the Inspector General to set up an anti-fraud unit to try to weed out fraud in disability, Social Security disability. We'll talk about that in just a couple minutes. But remember earlier this year, we told you the story about the tragic destruction of St. John Catholic Church in Benwood. It was a fire there, accidental fire, and it destroyed the church. It had been around for more than, well over 100 years and displaced 160 parishioners. A lot of items were lost. This was church, a fixture in that community. It wasn't long after that the Wheeling-Charleston Diocese announced they were going to rebuild on that site. And I think that really pleased a lot of the parishioners who were worried that maybe there'd be a consolidation. The Most Reverend Michael J. Bransfield is Bishop of the Wheeling-Charleston Diocese, and he joins us on Metro News Talkline because they got a little Christmas present this week, the parishioners, because the plans are now out for the new church. Bishop, good morning. Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming on. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you, Hobby. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you very much. Tell us about the design for the new church.
Well, it's hard for me to describe, but it's a church that has a beautiful upper church. You come in and it has a tower that looks like a tower. It's not the same thing as a tower. It's not as big, but it has a similar look. It'll sit, I think, about 170 people, and it's really going to be beautiful. It's just it's a blend of the old and the new, but it has a new look to it. It will be very good looking. But it does take the characteristics of the old and try to keep them, so that we have some reminder of the old church.
And Bishop, and we have a story posted on our website at wvmetronews.com, and people can get a look at the plans for the new St. John Parish. They can see it there. And I want to go back to the decision because I know folks in that parish certainly thought that when that church burned down, that the diocese would just say, well, it's an older parish, we'll just have people go other places, but you immediately decided to rebuild.
Well, that's true, and it could have been merged with other parishes, but I was there the night of the fire. I had been coming back from Charleston, so I witnessed a good bit of the fire with the people. And it was very beautiful to see that that community out there, and they really loved that church, that parish. They were crying. It was a very emotional time for them. And I felt that this community demanded that somebody take care of them and not just disperse them in directions which we wouldn't know which way they were going at first. And right now, it's large enough that we can maintain a small parish there.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, I don't know if I'm making the best plan for the future. Somebody might 10, 15 years come back and say that you shouldn't have done that. But at this time, there's a decent size of a parish. It's going over to St. James in McMacken and going to church there on Sunday.
Right.
That group will return. So I feel for the people that are there, and there are many generations, and then they have others come in to go with them. So, and we were capable enough to have it decently insured. So I felt that there was, for this generation that's very much enjoying it, and their major celebrations is funerals and weddings, and it's just somewhere they want to be when things happen in their lives. Then they have a social life out of there. They have their fish fries in that Lent, and they fill them up. And so we're going to keep the building across the street, which I built around 07 or 06, for 4 classrooms that would be an adjunct to the old school. Now we're going to turn that into a parish hall, and the architect's working to make it match the church. So right across the street, it'll be like a campus. They're on the same side, but a little street it comes in between them. So there will be a little campus where they'll be able to enjoy those things in the year where they go there all the time. And I think right now they really need it, and they were just as upset really about not having anywhere to go to celebrate their religious holidays and different ways of getting together as a community.
Bishop Michael Bransfield is with us, and you're exactly right, Bishop, because, and you've been there a while, but I know people in that parish, and they'll tell you stories. They were christened there, first communion there. Their parents took them to church there. They were married there. They went to funerals there. They went to fish fries there. They went to pierogi dinners there. I mean, hundreds and hundreds. It is an anchor, and has been historically an anchor in that community. And I'm glad, too, that despite the destructive nature of that fire, that you were able to salvage a lot of the pieces from that historic church, including some of the stained glass windows, I believe.
They did. And what they're doing is taking the stained glass windows and other pieces that they have, and they're going to use them as they have the bell, even though it won't be erected again. It fell, but it's in good enough condition to be a showpiece on the property, and they have other pieces that they can use inside the church, and they're going to have enough. There will be a beautiful display made to really bring the old church into the new, and they will feel these are very precious. These things, even found the old. The pierogi maker, taking that in with them, into the cafeteria, into the hall. So I think you're right. There's a whole culture going along around the history of that church that is very precious to them, and so to just get rid of it or disperse them would really be tough. I think we're going to make an attempt to recreate and even make it nicer, because you're going to have a modern facility with modern. It's going to be handicapped accessible. It's going to have handicapped bathrooms. It's going to have things that this older community needs, and where necessary, it'll make it much more accessible.
Bishop Michael J. Bransfield is with us, Bishop of the Wheeling-Charleston Diocese, on the reconstruction of the church in Benwood after that destructive fire earlier this year. I got a bishop on the phone. It's Christmas week. Bishop, I can't let you go without asking you to deliver some sort of Christmas message, not only to the diocese, but to the state of West Virginia and all our listeners. Would you please indulge us?
Sure, I'd be happy to. We think about the celebration of the birth of Christ, of the Christ child in the crib, and we suddenly realize, well, this is the greatest event of human history. Well, the Son of God enters the human race, and Jesus is really one of us. It's not like having some spirit moving around. God became man, and had a human experience, had human suffering, had human emotions, and we see that in his life and in his Gospels. The things he did, what he talked about, become part and parcel of our lives. We have the scriptures that are brought down to us. They're preached in all our churches, and people hear what he thought of us, and what he wanted us to do. So the incarnation is just the greatest event, because suddenly we're not out there on our own. The Son of God is telling us how to live, what to do, and giving us example in his own family. The family is the central structure. He and Mary and Joseph from the very beginning, a teaching element. And then he and his friends, the disciples, the people he loved, and the reasons he does miracles for those that are suffering, those that are victims. And the poor are always his concern. And he tried to tell people, this is what I want you concerned about. I want you feeding the hungry, visiting those in prison. I want you to take care of the ones who have been hurt. And you can see the empathy coming out of him when his cures are because he's seeing human suffering, and it's hitting him in his human heart. And so he also is teaching us how to live as a family. And so I hope that all religions celebrating, especially the Christian faiths, will reflect on this great event where the Son of God enters the human race and teaches us. He only gets 33 short years, and everything he said, we try to get as much of it as we can, and it still will be repeated 2,000 years later, and we'll still know what God expects of us.
Bishop Michael Bransfield, Bishop of the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston. Bishop, it's good to speak with you again. Good news. The good news is in Benwood this year, and the good news can be spread all across the state and the country and the world. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. God bless you.
Thank you. We'll be back. Stay with us. More to come.
We're in the spirit of giving at MVB Bank this year, and our gift to you includes awesome CD products at great rates, like our 58-month 2.12 annual percentage yield CD. You can start saving today with a minimum deposit of just $1,000. Hurry in now and avoid the holiday rush. This is a present that keeps on earning year after year. MVB Bank, your financial life made easy. Member FDIC. Visit us at mvbbanking.com.
A study from England shows that men spend more time each day looking at themselves than women. Well, believe that study or not, the point is we all want to look our best all the time. Well, the same holds true for businesses. We judge businesses, in fact, by their look. At Pikewood Creative, we produce videos and commercials that make businesses look their very best. And you know what? It improves their business. They get more customers and clients. If you'd like your business to look better, then check us out at pikewoodcreative.com.
You're listening to Talkline on MetroNews. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Women now make up 37% of the workforce, changing their role forever.
Harvard Medical School has now opened its doors to new female applicants.
The first woman is now in space.
The majority of last year's doctorate degrees were earned by women.
We've come so far, but our news is changing for the worse. More women die from heart disease and stroke than men, even though it can be prevented. Make a change at GoRedForWomen.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women.
This is why you work so hard to pay the mortgage. Because home is more than four walls and a roof. It's that porch swing on a summer evening. It's everybody over for Sunday dinner, and your family sleeping in their own beds at night. Making Home Affordable is a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov.
Good night, Mama.
This is why. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
The entire world watched. They watched each step down the rungs of that small ladder, one after another, and waited with great anticipation for that last step.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
At that moment, humanity saw the impossible become the possible, and today the sky is not the limit. Achievement. Pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for a low-key getaway after the holidays, relax and recharge at one of the many country mountain inns here in the Mountain State. Spend a weekend on a working farm like the one at Cider Mill Farmhouse in Hedgesville and Barn Within in Wellsburg. Real relaxation, you'll find it here in wild, wonderful West Virginia. We know in West Virginia, because there have been multiple stories and also national investigations on it, that we have an issue with Social Security disability fraud. People do get hurt, of course, and they are entitled to disability, of course. No one is disputing that. However, there have been instances where there has been fraud. That becomes very expensive. We had the famous story out of Huntington, where the appeals judge was approving every appeal that came through, costing taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. And you got to put a stop to it because it ruins the program for those who are deserving, and it bankrupts the program. Today, West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morrisey announced a coalition with federal officials, with Social Security and the Inspector General to establish an anti-fraud unit, and the Attorney General joins us on MetroNews Talkline. Patrick, good morning. Merry Christmas. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, happy good morning and Merry Christmas to you.
What will this
come on and
yes,
talk
sir.
about this.
What will this unit be doing that's not already being done to weed out fraud in the Social Security disability program?
Well, Hoppy, as you know, we do have a significant problem with disability fraud in West Virginia, and it's my hope that this new partnership is going to dramatically reduce fraud and abuse because we're going to have a more focused effort. There will be more resources coming in to fight the problem, and now there's a new partnership between the feds and state government to really try to ensure that we're going after fraud before the benefits are ever paid. Usually when money starts flying out the door, it becomes difficult to stop the flow. You want to make sure that you're going to be analyzing and investigating the suspicious and questionable Social Security disability claims before monies are awarded. Hoppy, it's also important at the outset to know that the goal of this is to obviously protect the integrity of the Social Security system for those who deserve it. If you're receiving benefits lawfully because you have a disability, you should have no concern. If you're committing fraud, you should be very concerned.
I think, and you touch on a significant point, because I know people out there now, or attorneys who handle Social Security disability cases, are saying, wait a minute, we have enough trouble now trying to get disability approved. There's a high standard. The federal government's tightening down. Now you're going to make it even harder for people who are truly hurt to get disability, which they would be, under the standard, entitled to. And you say...
Look, I'd say that right now we have a serious problem in West Virginia. We literally have twice the percentage of people from ages 18 to 64 on workers' disability based upon some statistics from 2001 than the national average. That's utterly unacceptable, and our goal is to make sure that we're analyzing these claims so that the people that deserve the benefit get it. But if you're committing fraud, and it's clear that there has been a lot of fraud in West Virginia and across the country, then we should crack down on it. Nationally, this program has saved taxpayers over $5 billion. That's pretty significant. I think we could start to really make some progress in West Virginia. And of course, we want to be thoughtful about the reviews and the reports that are submitted so that the right determination can be made about these benefits.
Attorney General Patrick Morrisey is with us. Last November, when the budget agreement was signed into law by President Obama, there was included in that, wasn't talked about very much, but buried in a document were important changes to the Social Security Disability Insurance Program, SSDI. SSDI trustees reported earlier this year that the $150 billion program that supports disabled people faced an urgent threat of reserve depletion. So the federal government's also stepping up and trying to do more to weed out fraud, waste, fraud, and abuse. So this is part of that. This is part of that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, this is part of that. This has actually been something we've been working on for the past year. Hoppy, as you know, this is the first unit of its kind in West Virginia, and we've been really zeroing in on this and pushing hard to reach an agreement, and we were obviously pleased to see the level of focus in one of the recent laws that came out, because when you have the kind of record that this cooperative agreement has across the country, you want to replicate it. It's working across the country, and there's no reason why it can't be effective for West Virginia taxpayers.
How's it going to work? I mean, does somebody see somebody who's on disability and they're out chopping wood, or they're out working another job, or how's it going to work?
Well, some of the people in the unit are going to employ traditional background review and investigative techniques to identify the fraud. And Humpy, just for a minute, it may help if I explain the unit.
Sure.
There are actually 6 people that will be in the unit. There will be an Office of Inspector General Special Agent. There will be a Social Security Administration program expert. There will be a state Disability Determination Services examiner, and then there'll be 2 attorney general investigators and 1 research analyst from my office. So all of those individuals are going to be working together, and then they're going to be putting a summary report together that will then, it doesn't provide opinions, but it's just going to provide the facts that will be used by Social Security Administration or DDS to approve or deny a disability claim. So we're kind of in the background doing the research and the investigation, and we're trying to identify the disability fraud early in the process.
So this is actually on the front end. This is when the claim. Is this when all claims are filed, or just when claims are filed and there are red flags?
Well, this is going to be when you have red flag claims, but obviously if there's a fraud referral, then we're going to be taking a close look at it. But we're trying to review as much as possible given the resources that are being provided. Hoppy, this is probably going to be about between $250,000 and $325,000 annually as an investment. The federal government will pay 100% of that, but that allows the unit to really get off the ground and start to pay for itself. In Virginia, for instance, Hoppy, we're seeing statistics monthly where you have $1 million of savings directly from federal programs, $700,000 from state programs, and we think those numbers will go way up the longer these collaborations are in place.
Patrick Morris is with us, West Virginia Attorney General, also one of the leading Republican politicians in the state. So I can't let you go without asking a political question. Everybody talks about Donald Trump all the time. What is your impression as a politician, as a Republican, of Donald Trump's campaign? And do you think he's helping the process, or do you think he's hurting the Republican brand? What do you think he's doing?
You know, I think Donald Trump is touching on some of the chords on some critical issues that our country is facing when he's talking about immigration reform and some of the lawless regulations that we've seen advanced in this country. So, I have not taken a position and officially endorsed anyone yet in the primary. I'm going to be looking at all the candidates to try to figure out how we can best help the state. And also, I'd like to have the chance to talk to every one of the candidates that survived some of the early primaries and see which one's really focused on fighting the president's power plan and enforcing the rule of law. So until I have a chance to actually personally talk to some of these folks, I'm going to reserve judgment. But I do think he's touching a chord that's really resonating with a lot of people. Happy people have lost faith in our democratic process, and they don't believe public officials or politicians when they say things. It's one of the reasons why we're so careful and we say things and we follow up and honor all of our promises. So I think that's what he's doing. That's why he's resonating a bit in West Virginia and across the country. But, there are going to be a lot of strong candidates on the Republican side. I will make this prediction, Hoppy.
Yeah?
Hillary Clinton will not exceed 40% in West Virginia, and I'd like to know where all the state officials stand on Hillary Clinton's candidacy.
We'll ask them when they're on. West Virginia Attorney General Patrick Morris. Patrick, thank you. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you and to all your listeners.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back.
True to its motto, wild and wonderful, West Virginia is the 3rd most forested state in the country for landmass and has 7 million more forested acres now than 100 years ago. The mountain state is abundantly blessed with valuable renewable forest resources, which naturally regenerate for future generations. Forestry is the basis for over 5,000 separate wood and paper products, creating millions of dollars in state revenue from business income and property taxes. A message from the West Virginia Forestry Association, WVFA.org.
You feel a strong desire to help hurting children and families in West Virginia, but you think,
what could I do?
Burlington United Methodist Family Services has a place for everyone. Folks to help with office duties in their facilities across the state. Professional and business people to help teach youth about their professions. Volunteers for their annual pumpkin and apple harvest festivals. And of course, donations of all kinds. What can you do? Search your heart and go to BUMFS.org today. BUMFS.org.
It's here, the year-end blockbuster sales event at your Central West Virginia Jeep Giant. Northside Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram trucks in Summersville. Inventory is huge, and so are the savings. Come on in now for this deal. A 2016 Jeep Cherokee Latitude 4x4 cold weather group. Yep, you're going to need it. Satellite radio, retail price $29,230, blockbuster price $24,999. You save over $4,200. It's only the beginning. See us in person or online at northsidewv.com.
This is Talkline on Metro News. For 30 years, the voice of West Virginia.
At MVB Bank, we have one simple objective: to give you the very best of everything you could possibly want and need in a bank. That's it. We believe most people just want a really great bank with top-notch products like checking with cash back, nationwide ATM fee refunds, great CD and car loan rates, and more. Together with our awesome team and the convenience of state-of-the-art technology they can count on. It's no extra fluff, just good, honest banking. We're MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC.
Talkline presented by MVB Bank, your most valuable bank. Member FDIC. Here in West Virginia, there are two great jackpot games you can play from the West Virginia Lottery. Powerball has drawings on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Mega Millions has drawings on Tuesdays and Fridays. The Powerball jackpot is $227 million. The Mega Millions jackpot is $94 million. Please check WVLottery.com for more updated information on lottery games. Also, pick up a lottery ticket at your favorite West Virginia lottery retailer. Please play responsibly. Thank you, J.R. Falls, and thank you, Patrick Reinhardt, for producing today, and thank you for listening and participating. Keep up with the news, not only today, but every day, and sports, and weather, and outdoors at WVMetroNews.com. Back tomorrow, and live show on Thursday. Special kind of personal Christmas Eve show on Thursday. Not too heavy. Not too heavy. See you tomorrow. This has been Talkline on Metro News. Metro News is the voice of West Virginia.